Well, they also have biases too in UK, especially the media. The Mirror pro-Labour 24/7.
Even the Sun.
The Sun. But for the first time, it endorsed Kama. The fact that it was also described as a loveless landslide. When you look at the share of the vote that actually propelled Labour, less than 34%. 35%. The memory of our own
And if the fates
Perhaps we're looking for one of a kind, the cultural exhibitions around the world, all traveled and places. Stay tuned to my channel, KBJOJO Newsbox, where I intend to give you every vital information, updates, interesting places, places of interest, tourism, and about people, culture around the world. Stay tuned on this channel. We promise to give you more.
But again, another conversation that also creep up. I think I listened to Farage. He was asking about the need for them to change the electoral system in UK. He believes that for his party, they had only 5 seats. And if you look at the portion of the vote he had, almost
proportional representation.
Yes, so he's talking about that. He would probably have had 100 seats. I don't know how that one will have worked out. The bottom line is, let me start with Dr. Sunak. Gracious in defeat.
Gracious in defeat, and it was sober, and you could see conciliation as well. There was a speech that the man began with, "I am sorry." He said, "To the country, I would like to say first and foremost, I am sorry." We have such acts from our leaders in Nigeria. When last did we hear our leaders say they were sorry? Or is it that they were always right at every point?
He also took, responsibility for the loss.
Yes.
He apologized to members of his party.
Yes, he apologized
and he resigned.
To members of the party and said, "I know how much pain I must have cost you by the outcome of this election." And for me, that was a major takeaway. We should also look at Sunak's birth history. The first British Asian.
He spoke about the advancement, the achievement that UK seems to have had. Multiculturalism.
Yes.
That anytime that he never believed you could walk.
No. He said his major fascination, or what he would go home with, was that his 2 daughters could light the Diwali candles. Inside number 10 Downing Street.
Yes.
It shows the multiracial and the cultural interplay, in the British society. And then so compare it with ours here in Nigeria. You are, for instance, now
identity politics.
Yeah. Look, I served in Enugu State.
I also served in Enugu.
And not for once did anybody accuse me of being an Atoriwa. Somebody who came to appropriate what belonged to an average Igbo man. And for me, I will forever be grateful. But I remember, too, that when I was SA Media to Ajimobi, one professor at the University of Ibadan told me, I'm sure he remembers that. Because Daniel remembers that now.
Yes.
So the professor, told me that how could that somebody from Ondo State be an essay in Oyo State? Ondo, Oyo State.
A professor.
And a professor for that matter. So what that tells you is that your children, for instance, now, I gave birth to all my children, virtually all of them, here in Ibadan. Grew up in Ibadan.
Same here.
Pay my taxes in Ibadan. My children, if tomorrow they want to run for any office in Oyo State, they will remind them that, look, you are not from here. And if my children go to Ondo State and they get to Akure, they can't speak Akure, they say Atorin Walele. So it puts, every person who under such system in dilemma. So where is your allegiance? Where do you stay? So aside that, we should also commend the British election for yes, they took umbrage against one another, but you could see that it was an issue-based election. They talked about NHS, they talked about immigration, they talked about the state of the economy. The state of the economy, in fact, was the hugest on the table. You know, because people were bothered about the chaos.
And immigration was also massive.
It was massive. The economic
the
chaos.
Rwanda initiative of the Conservative.
In the last
to stop the boats.
Yes, in the last 14 years or so, that the Conservatives have been in government. You know, the people were
prime ministers.
About, so they needed somebody who would salvage them. And they saw that in Starmer.
With his change mantra.
Yes, and his Labour Party. So that's also one. Then you also begin to look at the similarity now, the representativeness of that election. In terms of voter turnout, they said it was just 60%.
Down 7.
The 2019 election was
down 7%.
67.3
down
or
7%.
So. So people are saying that, look, yes, Starmer is the British Prime Minister. How representative is his...
the turnout was quite...
You know. So it shows that people, of course, remember our own issue here in Nigeria. Remember the number of people...
The British society, too, we also see people are getting disillusioned about
politics.
So politicians.
60% is still a good...
It's still a good, but they are bothered that there is a climb down.
Climb down.
Yes, there is a climb down, 67 to 60.
And Nigeria never had up to 40.
If Nigeria had 40, then Nigeria didn't. So that's also an issue if you look at the similarities. Then you begin to look at how coordinated the election process was. You know, people just voted seamlessly. There was no gangsterism. There was no snatching of ballots. And at the end of the day, there were no glitches. You remember ours.
The exit poll was almost spot on with the real outcome itself.
Yes. So you look at all those, and more fundamentally, there is no what I call the electo-judicial, you know...
no tribunal.
No tribunal. And can you imagine?
Judges and lawyers.
So now what we have in Nigeria now is the judiciary who proclaims who exactly is the winner of an election in Nigeria. And then also more fundamentally is that in the world's biggest democracy, we also had I've forgotten this point now, but perhaps when I remember it, I'm going to intervene.
Let me come to Pastor Olariwaju. I mean, I've seen a lot of Nigerians too, you know, that watched the proceedings there. The simplicity of the transition of power from Sunak coming out to give that speech, Starmer going to Buckingham Palace. You could
sorry.
I didn't see convoys.
I
didn't see convoy. I didn't see security guards. You know,
I mean, the man held his wife after the speech, and the wife was holding an umbrella.
Because it was
in Nigeria, you see that it was the wife who stood behind him while he was making that speech.
Yes.
In Nigeria, it's
police.
It is soldiers or security with epaulets on their shoulders. You know, and then also look at under 24 hours. This man,
seamless.
This man appointed his secretaries,
the cabinet,
called ministers, the cabinet.
They're meeting now.
And out of the five major political appointments he made, 3 of them were women, including the 45-year-old Chancellor of Exchequer.
First time. We will have more UK election. It's still politics after this Saturday morning. We are still looking at lessons that we can learn from the last UK elections. Let me go straight away to Pastor Suleiman Olariwaju. Your takeaways from what we saw in the UK.
Yes. The ease of transition was quite impressive. It reminds me of just an association in Nigeria. Maybe JCs, for instance. The day you have the election, the executive members are inaugurated. You know, the election was held on Thursday. By yesterday, the man had assumed office. And immediately, he started appointing those that work with him. That is huge for me. Then, the lesson from the election is that at the end of the day, what really matters to the people is their welfare. Because what swayed that election in favor of the Labour Party was the economy. In the last 14 years, inflation had grown to 25%, unprecedented. So, for the people, this guy had gotten to their wit's end, and they had to be eased out. That's what happened. So, the lesson for us in Nigeria is that whatever we don't do, we have to get the economy right. If we don't get the economy right, the people are going to be hungry. That's what happened. And that also reminds us of what happened again in Kenya. The economy is key. So our leaders in Nigeria should do everything to make sure that the economy works for the people. If the economy works for the people don't care who is there. For 40 years.
They don't care.
They don't care. For 40 years.
But I also believe that, and I want Pastor to also weigh in on this, economy, NHS, mortgage, immigration. But again, I also saw that in that election, and that was what Kestama keep hammering on. He keep using the word chaotic, to describe the conservatives. Of course, within themselves, they were always having issue. If you could have about 5 prime ministers within, space of 14 years.
Yes.
But he also mentioned, and he hammered it too. And I saw, a lot of British folks that were interviewed also seemed to be aligning with him. That it appears the conservative folks have gotten to a point after 15 years in office that they believe they're even above the law. What they were telling the British people, and you look at their conduct, people came to the conclusion that, look, 2 sets of rules. These conservative guys, they are rich, they are out of touch. It is what they do. If you look at what transpired, the party gate, the COVID era.
Yes.
So you got to a point that, look, these people, they are not doing what they're actually preaching. How is it very important that while you are in government, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Your conduct, also key.
Mayor, power resides with the people, not with the political office holders. That is what we need to understand. And that's what the British public showed the Conservative Party. The people are the one that hold the power. So those occupying offices have to be conscious of that, and they have to align their conduct with that. If at any point, in Nigeria,
They have betting scandal. The day the man even announced, that there was going to be election, some cabinet members are
The equivalent of our National Executive Council of parties in Nigeria.
In Nigeria.
They knew the date and they went
out to bet. To place bets.
take
To place bets.
the people for a ride.
For a ride.
And the people responded appropriately. That no, you can't take us for a ride. Maybe I didn't even expect the party to last that long, but they did. That means no matter how long a party that is irresponsible, so to say, lasts in power, there will be an end to that irresponsibility. Because people will not keep on condoning the irresponsibility.
You may not really say it, but I sensed it.
Okay.
You've been covering politics for a long while. There are some unspoken words, unspoken situation. You can perceive it, but nobody is really coming out to address it. I also believe strongly that Rishi's race, to some extent, also played into the heart of the electorate, especially when you look at the sudden rise of the far right. Farage and most of his guys peeled away loads of votes from the conservative.
Yes.
And that also ruined them. But if you look at what is driving them, British for British. Yeah. You were on ground and you voted. You want to also comment on that?
Thank you very much.
Immigration,
Yes,
far right across Europe, in France.
I even have a different perspective about that, Mayor. First, let me start with my observation. I voted in the council election about a month plus ago, and I also voted on Thursday. What I saw at the polling unit, there are a lot of lessons we should draw from that election. One, there were no policemen there were no Met police, not even one. In the polling unit where myself and my wife voted, Mayor, I saw old women as the electoral officials, maybe in their 50s. And there were no party agents on the ground to say, oh, are you voting for our party or not? No party agent on the ground.
No talks.
No talks. No gangsterism. In fact, there were no queues. You just go in, cast your vote, and because there was no public holiday like we do in Nigeria. Everybody went to work. So if you have your place,
And they also had early voting. About 20% of folks have actually voted before.
No. You can also post your votes. Chibisi Laka is a member of the Labour Party in the UK. He posted his votes from Nigeria.
Mail.
Yeah, he mailed it. So you can do that. So there were no agents. In fact, the ballot paper, Mayor, you will be shocked, was just a small card, not in color. It was in black and white. So they didn't spend so much money. In fact, you would even think that, like they would do in Nigeria, you say, the name of our party and the logo is number one. LP, Labour Party was in number one on that, just about 6 parties on that small ballot paper that we were given.
Six,
Labour Party was number one. Just make and they will put it there, mark X in front of the party that you want to vote for. They provided pencil. Not this
In case you want to cancel it.
You don't need to ink your ballot paper. Just pencil. Just use your pencil to mark the stuff so that the vote doesn't get spoiled. So there are a lot of lessons that I said this small card ballot paper in Nigeria. Your ballot paper will be as rich as as long as your arm length, and you'll be scrolling to get to the party. No, there was nothing like that. Just a small card, mark X, and you fold it.
Now talk of
pencil,
vote buying.
With pencil, not ink. With pencil.
Now talk of vote buying.
Who is going to buy votes? On the morning of that election, you saw the video where Rishi Sunak was asking people to come and take breakfast. McDonald's breakfast. Give it to. They say, you want to do stomach infrastructure? Your party has, and that all the projections about the outcome of the election were right. All the projections, including the one that even Sky News carried out, and all the newspapers. They said, but look at our own election. Poll saying Atiku is going to win. Some will say Tinubu. Some will say Peter Obi. Then who is going to? Are the three of them going to win? But there was accuracy in this election. They said Labour Party will get over 400 seats, and they got over 400 seats.
Standard.
So you see that was an election that was transparently honest. The electoral officials, like Dr. Adeda said, I've not heard of any tribunal being set up to look, and nobody is saying we will miss in court. The election was rigged. No. But of course, you know what happened even in the US with Donald Trump.
But you also saw that some couple of days to that election, ITV got some activists, members of Farage's party, that were using, racist,
the issue of the ancestry of Rishi Sunak, yes, came to play, but it even played out negatively for him and his party. You know why? He said, "This man, you are an immigrant. If you look at your ancestry, you are an immigrant. You should not be the one to spearhead a policy that will stop immigrants from coming to the UK. For instance, the issue of people who are on care work visa bringing dependents to the UK. So what he said about it, that no, we will not allow it. UK, and they have stopped it. Since they stopped it, both for those going for academics, for schooling, and those going for health work visa, Mayor, since they stopped that thing, go to any UK visa centers in Nigeria, the numbers have dropped drastically.
That's true.
Drastically. Nobody is going again because that was the attraction for people. They were selling properties to say, oh, let's go to the UK. And when you get to that UK, Mayor, it's not a place that's...
But
I know what I'm facing.
It was quite clear that Farage, and his court, the message they were pushing out, far right.
No. All is fair in warfare. That's what they will do in politics. Yes. But after that election, the whole country is united.
Exactly.
But that's the beauty of all the things. In the build up to the election, yes, in the build up to the election,
build away so many voters.
The driver that took me from my house
also costs
to
the
driver that took me from my house to Heathrow Airport, a journey of about 1 hour 17 minutes. We discussed the election from start to finish, and he was saying like, look, this Rishi Sunak, this party, they're supporting Israel against Hamas. So that also played out. That why would
4
you support-
independent candidates in Muslim
every
dominated areas.
Labour
Actually
minister,
they won 4 seats.
They pander
Labor actually lost
sheepishly
in
to
those
the,
areas
to the,
where
the
the
desires
Muslims,
of the United States.
Exactly.
So they say, okay, why are you a willing ally of this almighty international police of the country?
areas that Labour was supposed to win, about 4 areas,
Even
but won by
in
independents.
Scotland, where SNP was dominant, Labour made inroads
crushed-
there, and the Lib
They
Dem,
lost 36
the
seats
Liberal Democrats.
in Scotland.
Yes. So many factors. The issue of international politics, the issue of migration, and more importantly, the issue of NHS, the waiting are.
That was
I have a
number
personal
one.
experience.
That was number one. That was number
Look,
one.
one of my children is supposed to see an ENT specialist. My wife called in June. They said, "Oh, and when you called in the morning, you have to call at exactly 8 o'clock. If you call 8:01,
They said
they said
the
50 on the queue.
as we I think
Yes.
they said the waiting list almost 40,000 on the waiting list.
Yes, that is true.
It's not left for Starmer. Let's see.
After
bring it
8
down
calls,
now.
after 8 calls, they gave my son August 15th.
Yes,
To see an
waiting
ENT.
list is crazy.
And I already connected him to an ENT here in Ibadan. They did video call and they examined the child. 15th of August. But if it requires an emergency, they can use aeroplane to come and carry you in your house. They can do that. They will do that. But the NHS was conceived by the Labour Party in the 60s. So they said, you people, you design this thing.
Socialize
come on, repair the damage.
Socialize
That was one of-
medicine, they
yeah,
call it.
Yeah, come on. Because the Conservatives were pro-privatization. They were
Privatization.
just privatizing things. Gas, electricity, and the prices are going up. You know, private people, they want to make profit.
Money.
But these people are saying, no, you can't be privatizing everything. We did NHS because we don't want private hospitals to be milking the citizens. You should have a human face in governance.
Cost
So-
of
So many
Hopes.
things. Yes.
Terrible.
So many things played out in that election that we have to learn. from.
but bottom line here is this: just like Pastor said, the peaceful transition,
No.
the simplicity.
Because when you go to number 10 Downing Street, you don't go there with the mind that we are the landlords here, we'll be here forever.
No.
Like one party posted in Nigeria, we'll govern this country for 60 years.
Each of the secretary nominee walked in.
And
Because there were shadow services
Yeah.
for years.
And
in
you
the
saw
opposition.
the civil servant, the people working in the as Rishi Sunak was leaving, they were booing and cheering it. As Rishi was coming in, they were cheering.
Yes.
And in another 5 years, let's see whether that is going to be the same thing.
that romance. Wow. Anyway, like I said, the most fortunate our leaders, they watch all this, they see all this. How do we get our system to work perfectly like that of the UK? Congratulations to British people for that wonderful election, and for Starmer, the work has begun.
He also
acknowledged it. He acknowledged it.
People want to see the change that he has promised along the line moving forward. He joined. I mean, he became the leader of Labour Party in 2015.
Was it 2015?
Yeah.
No. And you know,
And he changed
one thing about
the party completely.
Starmer is that he has not even evolved in terms of saying this is his philosophy as a leader.
Even throughout, he was
People
guarded.
just said- people just
He was
said-
guarded throughout. He was guarded. He was cautious.
Yes.
Very cautious. Very guarded.
Yes.
You don't really know much about what he
And,
will do
and
in
the
most
Conservatives
cases.
knew they were going to lose that election because after the council election, their nose.
No,
Badly blooded.
Rishi, throughout until the last minute, what he was calling for was to ask the British electorate not to allow Labour massive majority. That was what he was saying. So you knew they were going to lose.
The Conservative candidate that campaigned that brought his flyer to my house was just attacking Chris Scott. In fact, my children went to the polling unit with me, and the woman there was just educating them. Tomorrow we are going to know. See, your parents are going to vote now. Tomorrow we will know whether we have a new prime minister. Who is the new prime minister? Who is the current prime minister? So my second child said Rishi Sunak. The first one said Chris Curtis. He said, no, that's the candidate of the Labour Party for that constituency. So you can imagine. They didn't know anything about the Conservatives, even my children. They were just seeing, anytime they come back from school, they will see the flyer, Labour Party, Labour Party, Labour Party. They will even they wrote myself and my wife personally, detailing their manifestos and what they are going. When the Conservative guy was going to come with his own, he just listed all the things that the Labour Party said he was going to do and was countering them one by one. I said, say your own things now. Don't counter. Don't counter.
He also just us online from UK. Lastly, Ladibulu. Good morning. Lastly, can you hear me? Good morning. Lastly.
Now, well seated.
Right. As you, I'm sorry for
the Prime Minister
the mood in the UK. Yeah, I can see him. I can hear it. I can hear it. Or if you can listen to me.
Please go ahead.
The mood right in the UK is happening as normal.
So this morning, right now, as we speak,
so people are expecting a lot of expectations
to the Daniel Strait to resume work as well.
Well seated.
Over the election has been very
the Prime Minister having made 5 key cabinet members yesterday. Right now they have to be entering the Daniel Strait, which is the main office. Let's call it like Asylum. So this morning, right now, as we speak, the cabinet are actually coming to the Daniel Strait to resume work. Yes, over the period before now, a whole lot of, but we all know the possible outcome, which is a change happening, and British people have already demanded. We got it, and I believe this is due to the fact that the 14 years
and that
so to say rule of the conservatives has been very negative to one of people, even though there are some advantages, some good things that this government have, the previous government, this conservative government have brought in place for the British population.
Migration that they really want to actually this land, but they failed obviously up to this point that this election took place, and they are still on the verge of
since the government of conservatives started, it started with austerity measures and a whole lot of ideas that they believe that previously Labour Party used to open the border for a lot of people, and they come up with some agenda on issues of areas of migration that they really want to put this down, but they failed up to this point. That this election took place, and they are still on the verge of meeting their promises made to the British public. So that's a failure. And likewise, the healthcare and other issues, the NHS. If you remember, if you can recall that the Conservative Party actually started on a bad footing, because they started by taking some of allocation, according to funding from the NHS. I could remember they take nearly 20 billion pounds every month out of the funding for the health sector. So that's what actually they started. What I'm trying to do is to sanitize. They believe that
those areas that the conservatives have failed. Then there's another key thing that this new government is, which they believe is they will continue with
kind of harsh way. So and the austerity measure actually people have felt it, and now they are tired. So now the move is which they believe the Labour Party is going to bring about and repair all those areas that the conservatives have failed. Then there's another key thing that the new government, which they believe is they will continue with results in the Europe and Brexit. So, but this issue is not something they want to bring back to the British public either to decide whether they want to leave Brexit or that is a separate matter. But they will adjust to some European rules in order to give a better future for the citizens of this country. So they will, over the time, in the next before the end of let's say in the next couple of years, we'll be seeing some soft landings for British. So we will be seeing more like UK getting closer to Europe. So that is actually part of the promise they make. But the Brexit remains Brexit. But they want better
lastly, can you hear me?
So generally, I think a lot of conversations still going on regarding the new government. But people feel easy, they feel relaxed that they now have they can now breathe a sigh of relief from the constraints, kind of a tightened kind of a government which conservatives have been running on these key sectors of the country, like education and even the public sector.
Lastly, I must really thank you. We're having an issue. We're able to hear you, but you are finding it difficult to hear what I'm saying. Thank you so much for bringing your perspective to bear. Lastly, Oladipo speaking to us on Fresh FM live from London, UK. Many thanks, Lastly. Finally, as we leave the UK, election issue, I just wonder. Let me ask Dari. The advent of Labour government, do you see, and to the gentlemen, do you see any policy change in terms of how UK relates to Africa, especially us in Nigeria?
Well, I expect
Under
to
Labour
see a Labour Party government that is cautious in its relationship with. Because I told you that one of the reasons why the Conservatives were hunted down by the British people was because they felt
you are too relaxed
we have
about immigration.
On the home front, you are not solving the economic problems that we have, and you are meddling in affairs all over the world. You are just supporting this Ukraine, for instance. UK was one of the first country to give massive support to UK.
Boris was always there.
Yes,
when the war began.
Look, where are you getting this money to fund this war that you did not create, that you did not start in the first place? And US will now be pumping other resources and military.
Do you see any tightening in terms of visa applications to Nigeria?
No, I don't see it. The Labour people they are pro middle class people. They are saying no for the working class. Let there be dignity.
But I also saw during that election. There are those that are also making argument. There are jobs meant for British people. Have been done by immigrants.
But even when you consider the fact that even currently in the UK, Mayor, the Eastern Europeans, they are living in droves. They are leaving the country. They are leaving the UK. They don't want to even
and the parties are everywhere.
Of course now.
Of course.
Indians they own more houses in the UK than the British people themselves. Yes, now I was shocked when I saw the figures. I said, wow. Because they are in business. The person who owns the house where my family lives in is from India. He's into so many businesses.
They control
we are the ones paying the mortgage for him.
We are living in his house now.
We are living in his house. So our rent is his mortgage to government. I'm not sure he pays up to that as mortgage itself. So
anyway, there are those who also have resentment. Let's quickly come back home, and I'm going to start with Pastor. The big news last week, we're in the season of a big power. I saw a report this morning about 82 million Nigerians may be exposed to starvation or hunger.
No, it's to 150 something.
80 something, yes, million.
Okay.
And people have been asking, more hard knocks on the government at the center in terms of you brought us to where we are now. The double whammy of floating of naira and subsidy removal is what's responsible. And Nigerians are asking, what is it that government at all levels are doing? Governor Shemakinde flag of that of Oyo State this week. Sincerity for purpose, essence, help us make sense of it.
Yeah, in the last 1 year, the government in Oyo State has done quite a lot to improve agriculture. And some people have said that in the last 25 years, something like that has not happened. In the last 1 year, over 3,000 farmers have been supported with loans. In the last 1 year, over 10,000 farmers have been supported with seed and seedlings. Crop farmers, poultry farmers, piggery farmers, across all the chain, all the value chain. Over the last 1 year, just this week, 62 farmers were trained in Awe, and 200 acres of land be shared amongst them so that they can increase food production. Apart from that, about 3 months ago, the governor had a meeting with farmers and traders at Fashola, where the farmers and traders tabled their issues. And the governor at that particular moment directed that tractors, the costs of hiring tractors should be slashed by 50%.
And they gave them 600 million?
Yeah.
Tractorization?
Yes.
I can report to you this morning. The Association of Farmers in Akufo, they were interested to have a conversation with me during the week. Of course, they came to also raise some concerns that they're hearing that government is planning to float estates in Akufo and they want to drive them out. But from my conversation with them, they acknowledge that in the next 1 month, by the time we start seeing the yield coming from Akufo, that will marvel. And I asked them, what has changed? They said, the action of Governor Shimakide, that tractorization that he did, has really helped in Akufo. Because there's single-holder farmers, and most of them, without tractor, they can only do little.
Yeah.
But at this tractorization, they've been able to do so much. And when we begin to see the outcome, that is one policy I must tell you this morning is working. It has worked.
Okay.
And I'm just affirming what I learned from folks.
But it's not just
Nigeria.
Akufo. It's all over the state.
I mean, of course, the people that have come
all over the state.
testify
Yes.
that told me
Yes.
this.
So directed that the taxes that farmers were paying on farm produce should be suspended. So all of these.
He also said he was going to, see whether the government transport service could also help because farmers complain about the issue of logistics, moving their goods.
So all of these interventions have resulted in higher productivity of farm produce. We have more now in Oyo State. The question that people will ask that naturally is that if you have more,
it has not changed the price, Loje.
But why?
I don't know. You are in government.
I want to explain. It is not. Now, it is if food items are expensive, it's not because of scarcity. That's the point I want to make. Now,
dwindling purchasing power of Nigerians.
Yes, that is it. If food items are expensive, it's not because our farmers are not producing. It's not because we have a scarcity or shortage. No, the fact is that every factor, everything that goes into the production of food items, costs more now. Let me just give you an instance. Before May last year, if a farmer was going to hire farm hands, maybe we'll pay them 2,000 or 3,000. Now I'm sure no farm hand will take anything less than 6,000. If you are going to move your produce from your farm to town, before May last year, if it was costing 2,000, now it will cost like 5,000, 6,000. So all of these things are the reasons behind the high price of food items. Not because the government is not doing enough to support farmers. We have productivity has increased.
But there's also the factor of Shylock traders. You saw that video that went viral of somebody that was selling Rodo 4 pieces.
And I said the same thing from
Yes. And they are saying, why is your own more expensive than this, your neighbors?
But that has always been the case. I'm not justifying that. Before May last year, that was the case. There have always been middlemen.
And they will always be.
There will always be.
Yeah, I just wanted to make clarification. You flagged off distribution of rice. The deputy governor, your Nigerians and people of this state saw what happened the last time Steam Like Size was carried out. I mean, it was terrible sight online. You see people, thugs, hijacking buses. And I know at that point in time, Governor Shemakinde ordered that the process be suspended. The one you are flagging off now, where is the data? Who are getting it? The poorest of the poor.
Yes.
Because I saw the deputy governor when he flagged it off in Oyo.
But since that.
And how many bags? How many people are you also targeting?
Since the federal deputy governor flagged it off, I'm sure you have not had any case of anybody hijacking anything.
No, I've not.
That means you have perfected the process.
Perfection, I hope perfection doesn't mean I want leader Egbe.
No. Those items are meant for specific people. Like we say, the poorest of the poor. And we know where they are. We know how we reach them.
How many bags are you distributing now?
I don't have the figure here now.
Okay.
We know that we are targeting. We know those who are targeting. We know we reach them through their mosques, their bales, their churches, markets. So there's no possibility of anybody hijacking anything in the process.
And if the fates it should bless us with a moment of reprieve. We all could stand together in the silence and just breathe. Rejoice for all the happiness